You are sitting there. Maybe you are having dinner. Or maybe you are watching TV. Everything is completely normal, and then you accidentally say something. Or maybe you say nothing at all, but you feel it. A small shift in the air, a few degrees colder, and when you ask, "Is everything okay, honey?" you get the answer that every man fears. 3 words: "I am fine." Immediately you know you have just entered a forbidden land. An invisible wall has been erected. And for the rest of the evening you will have to tread carefully, as if walking through a minefield. And in your head there is only one question repeating over and over: what the hell? Did I do wrong? That feeling of fumbling in the dark, it is not your fault. It is because we were never given the user manual. But the good news is, that book exists. It is not on any bookshelf. It was written by a man who spent his life seeing through human masks, Friedrich Nietzsche. In this video, I will give you 19 rules from that book. Not empty theories, but practical tools for you to stop guessing, so you can look directly at a situation and understand what is really happening. Stay with me until the end, because rule number 19, it does not just help you understand, it will help you see those walls before they are even built. So, the first part of this user manual is about learning to see. Not to look at what she says, because words are the easiest thing to fake, but to look at what she is doing, to look at the small cracks on the seemingly perfect surface. These are the first rules, the small victories that give you the confidence to go deeper. Rule number 1, every woman wears a mask to survive. Ask yourself this: why is it that the woman you think is the gentlest, the one who always says the sweetest things, can sometimes let out words as sharp as a razor, so cold that you do not recognize her? The answer is simple: because she is wearing a mask. No, do not be quick to judge. This is not being fake, this is a survival mechanism. Imagine it as a heavy suit of armor, forged in the fires of social expectations, of the fear of rejection, of the pressure to be someone else. You will see the good girl mask, always smiling and agreeing with everything, because she is afraid of disappointing others. You will see the strong woman mask, the one who carries everything on her own, never complaining because she's afraid of being seen as weak. And you will see the peacemaker mask, the one who always tries to extinguish every conflict because she is terrified of chaos. All of those things are just suits of armor, and your job is not to try to smash that armor, but to learn to recognize its existence, and to understand that the person inside may be completely different. This leads us to rule number 2. Her silence reveals more than her words. When a woman falls silent in response to a deep question, when she abruptly changes the subject when it becomes too personal, the first instinct for many of us is to try to fill that void with a barrage of questions, with meaningless words. Do not do that. That silence is not emptiness, it is a space filled with unspoken words. It is where she is processing a fear, grappling with a truth, confronting a memory. When she is silent, do not look at her lips, listen to the silence itself, because the silence is the answer. Rule number 3. The louder the performance, the emptier the core. Just open Instagram and take a look. Scroll for a bit. What do you see? Perfect vacations, beautifully arranged meals, radiant, flawless smiles, stories of success and complete happiness. Now ask yourself honestly, do you think that is real happiness, or is it a silent scream? Nietzsche foresaw this long before social media existed. He understood that excessive performance is not a sign of strength. It is a sign of desperation, an attempt to hide a feeling of inner lack, of fear that without those glamorous things, one will not be loved, not be validated. In fact, modern studies have proven this. The consumption of perfect content is directly correlated with higher levels of anxiety and depression. The bigger the performance, the deeper the void inside. This brings us to rule number 4. She betrays herself through exaggeration. Listen very carefully to the catchphrases, the absolute statements. I never get jealous. I am perfectly fine being alone. I really do not care what other people think. Nietzsche said that when a person has to shout something, it is often because they are trying to drown out an opposite truth screaming inside. It is not an affirmation. It is an attempt to reassure oneself. It is a battle, and volume is the weapon. So when you hear an exaggeration, do not believe the content. Read the insecurity hidden behind it. Rule number 5. Excessive virtue is often pride in disguise. Be wary of the woman who is always preaching morality, the one who is always judging the lifestyles of others, the one who always corrects your mistakes in public. Sometimes morality in their hands is not a torch to light the way for others, but it is a whip to control, to feel superior, to assert one's position over those who are less moral. This is what Nietzsche called the will to power in a saintly disguise. True kindness does not need applause. True virtue does not need to speak. And the final rule in this section, rule number 6, her criticism is a mirror. This is very important. When a woman constantly criticizes others for the same issue, be it their appearance, their choices in love, or their career ambitions, the truth is, she is not attacking that woman. She's attacking a version of herself that she has abandoned, or a fear that she dares not face. The person who criticizes another's freedom is often the one who feels imprisoned. The person who scoffs at another's success is often the one who feels like a failure. Her criticism is not an arrow aimed at someone else. It is a mirror, and it is reflecting directly onto her own pain. Pause for a moment. Up to this point, we have learned to look at the mask. We have seen the first cracks. You now have the basic tools to no longer be confused by surface behaviors. But now, we are going deeper. Deeper than the masks. We are going to where these masks are made. The inner world of fear and desire. Welcome to the second level. If part 1 was about recognizing the cracks on the surface, then this part is about looking directly into the abyss below. This is where things get more real. And this is also where you begin to gain real power. Starting with rule number 7, most of our actions are driven by unconscious fear. This is a fundamental shift in how you think. Throw away the old question. The question, what does she want, will only lead you in circles in a maze. Start asking the right question. The most important question. What is she most afraid of losing? Afraid of being abandoned? Afraid of not being good enough in your eyes? Afraid of being judged by others? Or afraid of losing financial and emotional security? The illogical actions that you cannot understand, the sudden bursts of anger, the confusing decisions, the words that push you away, they do not grow out of thin air. They grow from the soil of fear. Fear is the hidden engine, the undercurrent that drives everything. Once you identify that fear, you no longer see a crazy action. You see a desperate attempt at self-preservation. And this fear is the master key to decoding. Rule number 8. When she fears being forgotten, she will pursue attention. You know this type. The woman who always needs to be the center of every room. The one who tells the loudest stories. The one with the most dramatic actions. Your first instinct might be annoyance, thinking it is arrogance. But look closer. Listen deeper. Often that woman is not a confident person. She's a terrified person, afraid that if she is silent, she will become invisible. Afraid that if she is not outstanding enough, she will be forgotten, erased. Inside that grown woman, there is often a child who once felt unseen. And now that child is screaming to be acknowledged. Attention is not always arrogance. Very often it is a cry for help. Rule number 9, the person she attacks is often the person she envies. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, but it will free you from so much pointless frustration. Nietzsche called envy admiration in an ugly disguise. When you see her attacking someone else's success, scoffing at another's freedom, or criticizing another's confidence, understand that she does not truly hate that person. She is seeing a version of herself that she desires but believes she can never achieve. And because admitting that admiration is too painful, destroying it is easier. So when you see an attack, do not look at the target, look at the one shooting the arrow, and look for the hidden admiration behind it. This leads to rule number 10. Where she appears superior, she is hiding an insecurity. The woman who constantly has to boast about her achievements. The one who has to repeatedly mention her beauty, her relationships, what she owns. She's not trying to impress you. She is trying to convince herself. She's using those words to fill a deep hole of insecurity inside. A fear that she is not good enough, that she will be overlooked. Remember this. True confidence does not need to boast. It does not need to compete. It does not need to prove anything. It is very quiet. Rule number 11. The desire for control is a manifestation of inner chaos. The woman who is obsessed with controlling everything. Your schedule, your relationships, every tiny detail in the house. Do not be quick to fear or resent that behavior. Look at it with an eye of understanding. Nietzsche saw this very clearly. When a person's inner world is in chaos, when their emotions and thoughts are like an uncontrollable storm, they will try to compensate by obsessively managing the external world. That act of control is not a sign of strength. It is a symptom of helplessness. The harder, more controlling the outer shell, the more fragile, more terrified the inner core. And finally, rule number 12. Her clique is a reflection of her. This is the most practical rule you can apply today. Look at her closest friends. Do not just look at who they are, but how they interact with each other. Is their relationship one of support, encouragement, and celebrating each other's success? Or is it a stage for subtle competition, for sugar-coated judgments, for toxic gossip? A circle of friends is not just a social choice. It is a direct reflection of the values she pursues, the insecurities she harbors, and the aspirations she is moving towards. It is the most honest mirror of her inner world. We have passed through the layer of masks. We have passed through fear. Now, we will touch the root, the core, where all behaviors, all patterns, all words originate. This is the deepest part. This is where the pieces start to fit together. Pay close attention. Rule number 13. She does not speak from logic. She speaks from pain. The next time you hear a woman make a rigid statement about life, for example, all men are the same, or true love is just an illusion, stop. Do not try to argue with logic. Do not present counter-evidence, because you are talking to the wrong entity. You think you are talking to her reason, but no. You are talking to her scar. The truth is, people do not form their worldview from objective facts. We form our worldview from what has broken us, and then we use logic to build a fortress around that wound. When a woman says love does not exist, she is not presenting a philosophical thesis. She is protecting a heart that was once broken. Behind every rigid opinion is a pain that is not yet healed. Rule number 14. She reenacts her childhood, not her beliefs. You have heard the saying, people do not change. Nietzsche would correct it. People do not change. People repeat. Her behavior today, this is a play reenacting her past. A play she did not choose but is forced to perform over and over. The girl who had to be good as a child to be loved by her parents will grow up to be the woman who does not know how to set boundaries, who does not know how to say no for fear of disappointing others. The girl who had to take on the role of an adult from a young age to care for her parents will grow up to be unconsciously attracted to partners who need to be saved, who need to be cared for. She thinks she is acting based on her current beliefs and choices, but the truth is she is just trying to solve the problems of the past in a new context. Her behavior today is her biography from yesterday. Rule number 15. How she reacts to weakness reveals her true strength. Do you want to know a woman's true nature? Want to know her inner strength? Do not look at how she treats her boss, those with more power. That is just a performance. Instead, observe how she treats the waiter in a restaurant, how she talks to a child, and most importantly, how she treats you at the moment you feel most weak and vulnerable. True strength is not in dominating the weak, not in punishing mistakes. It is in restraint. It is in compassion. The person who can witness weakness without judgment, who can sit with sadness without running away, who can forgive a mistake they have every right to punish, that is the one who has won the war within themselves. Rule number 16. She deceives herself before she deceives you. Let us go back to the phrase, I am fine, when her face is as tense as a drum. That lie was not for you. It was never for you. It is a mantra she repeats to herself, a desperate attempt to keep her inner world from collapsing. She has rehearsed that lie in her head hundreds of times before it was spoken. So, when her story has inconsistencies, when her words and actions do not match, do not be quick to assume she's trying to trick you. Realize that she has been deceiving herself for a very long time. And look at that inconsistency, because that is where the truth is leaking out. Rule number 17. Guilt hides behind false confidence. Sometimes you meet a woman who appears extremely confident, sure of everything, never wrong. That confidence can be a sophisticated defense mechanism, a shield to cover a deep-seated guilt. Maybe a decision in the past that she regrets, a path she did not take, or a weaker version of herself that she is trying to bury. That excessive confidence is a war against the past. Rule number 18. Her behavioral patterns are a confession. This is something you must learn to listen to, not with your ears. The woman who always chooses partners who are unavailable for commitment. The one who always sabotages her own happiness just when things get too good. The one who always works herself to exhaustion to avoid facing the silence. These are not random behaviors. These are unspoken confessions. They are saying, this is how I protect myself. They are saying, this is where I was once hurt. They are saying, this is what I am afraid will happen again. Patterns are the language of the subconscious. If you can learn to read them, you will hear the truth before it is even spoken. And now we have reached the end of the road. All 18 rules we have just discussed are incredibly powerful. The mask, the fear, the wound. But they all point to one thing. Like arrows on a map, they all point to a single buried treasure. An inner compass. And this is the final rule. The rule that will help you read that compass. The rule that will tie everything together. Rule number 19. How she defines safety reveals her deepest wound. Listen very carefully. What is safety to her? It is not just about the physical, it is a psychological state. If her safety is absolute financial stability, never having to worry about money, then her deepest wound is lack and the fear of dependency. If her safety is absolute fidelity, the certainty that you will never leave, then her deepest wound is betrayal and the fear of abandonment. If her safety is intellectual validation that her opinion is always respected, then her deepest wound is the feeling of being dismissed and ignored. When you understand what her safe harbor is, you will understand what storm once sank her ship in the past. This is not just a rule, it is the key to decoding all the other rules. And so we have come to the end of the road. Now, you do not just have knowledge, you have something much more powerful. You have a new lens through which to see the world. Once you have looked through it, you cannot go back to how you were. You cannot unsee what you have seen, but this knowledge, it comes with a weight. It comes with a responsibility. And I want us, my brothers, to understand this clearly. Your responsibility is not to fix her, not to diagnose or analyze her like a research subject. That is not power, that is just another form of arrogance. Your responsibility is to understand, is to have the courage to see through the armor of anger and see the fear within, is to see through the performance of confidence and see the guilt hiding, is to see the wounded child behind the grown woman you thought you knew. That is the ultimate purpose of this journey. Not to become a master of reading people, but to become a man with a heart big enough to hold even the most complex truths of others. And that is why the comment section of this video is so important. Scroll down and let me know. Which rule felt like a slap in the face? Which rule made a specific face, a specific situation appear in your mind? Share that number. No need for details, just a number and a brief thought. When you write it down, you are not just helping me, you are helping thousands of other men who will read your comment and realize, wow, I am not alone in this. That is how we build a real community. By sharing pieces of the truth. And if you want more decoders like this, if you want to continue the journey of becoming a man who no longer has to fumble in the dark, hit the subscribe button, because in the next video we will go even deeper. And remember this, the world has enough men trying to conquer. What the world is lacking are safe spaces. Become that safe space. That is true power.